The January window is only just beginning, but Rangers have already made a move that sets an interesting tone for the weeks ahead. Even before any on-pitch arrivals are confirmed, there is a sense that decisions taken now could shape the direction of the club for the rest of the season and beyond. At Ibrox, there is a clear feeling that this is a period of transition, one where every choice carries extra weight as Rangers look to steady themselves domestically and prepare for bigger changes down the line. On the football side, attention quickly turns to the heart of the defence and the situation surrounding John Souttar. Tuesday night's 2-1 victory over St Mirren was significant for several reasons, but one of the biggest talking points was seeing Souttar back in the starting lineup for the first time since early November. After a long spell on the sidelines, the defender returned to the centre of the back line and put in a composed performance, reading the game well and showing calmness in possession, while also standing up firmly when called upon defensively. He managed most of the match before being taken off with around 10 minutes left, a decision that raised eyebrows among supporters eager to see him complete the 90 minutes. After the match, head coach Danny Rowe was keen to explain that the change was made purely as a precaution. He stressed that protecting Souttar's fitness was the priority after such a lengthy absence, especially at this demanding stage of the season. Rowe spoke positively about what he saw, highlighting the defender's quality on the ball and his strength when dealing with pressure. It was clear from his words that the coaching staff values Souttar highly and are conscious of how important he could be if Rangers are to maintain momentum in the coming fixtures. That performance came against the backdrop of uncertainty surrounding Souttar's future. With his current deal due to expire at the end of the season, contract discussions have been ongoing, and Rowe confirmed that talks are continuing behind the scenes. While no final decision has been announced, there was an air of optimism in his comments, suggesting the club knows what it wants and is hopeful an agreement can be reached. For Rangers, keeping experienced players who understand the demands of playing at Ibrox could be crucial as they look for stability during a period that has seen plenty of change. The timing of all this is notable, with Rangers preparing for a huge clash away to Celtic on Saturday. Going into such a fixture, having key players returning and regaining sharpness is vital. Across the city, Celtic come into the game after a 2-0 defeat to Motherwell at Fir Park, adding another layer of intrigue to an already intense rivalry. For Rangers, confidence from recent results and the return of important figures like Souttar could make a real difference in terms of belief and organisation on the pitch. While much of the focus naturally remains on results and performances, Rangers have also moved decisively off the pitch by completing their first piece of January business. The appointment of David French as the club's new chief commercial officer marks a significant step in reshaping the club's executive structure. This is a role that had been left vacant since the end of last season, and filling it signals intent from the board to strengthen the foundations away from the playing squad. French arrives with a strong background in managing and maximizing major sporting venues. He joins Rangers after stepping away from his role at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, where he oversaw a period of growth and high-profile events. His experience spans several countries and includes senior positions at Old Trafford, the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Shanghai, and work within large-scale organizations across Europe and Asia. That breadth of experience is seen as a major asset as Rangers look to develop their commercial operations and explore long-term plans for Ibrox. The recruitment process has been ongoing for several weeks, with Chairman Andrew Kavanagh and Vice Chairman Parag Marath taking an active role in identifying the right candidate. French is expected to begin work immediately, taking responsibility for areas such as ticketing, hospitality, retail, and sponsorship as part of a broader commercial strategy. His arrival is understood to align closely with Rangers' ambitions around improving the matchday experience and assessing the potential for future stadium development. This appointment is particularly noteworthy as it represents the first confirmed off-field change since the departures of senior figures last month. It feels like the opening move in a wider restructuring process, one that could gather pace as the year progresses. With a feasibility study already underway regarding possible expansion and upgrades at Ibrox, French's expertise in venue development and commercial growth could prove invaluable in turning long-discussed ideas into concrete plans. All of this feeds into a wider conversation about where Rangers are heading, both in the short term and further down the line. Former striker Billy Dodds recently offered his view on what lies ahead, predicting another summer of significant change at the club. Having worked closely with many of the current players during his time on the coaching staff, Dodds has a clear perspective on the strengths and weaknesses within the squad. While recent improvements under Danny Rowe have brought Rangers back into the title conversation, there is still an expectation that substantial work will be needed across the next two transfer windows. Dodds believes January will be relatively quiet in terms of incomings, with the real overhaul more likely to take place in the summer once Rowe has had more time to assess his options and shape the squad to fit his ideas. Looking ahead, he suggested there are only a handful of players he would see as definite keepers for next season, pointing to the need for a sharper, more balanced group capable of sustaining a genuine challenge on multiple fronts. That kind of rebuild brings its own pressures, especially given how often similar conversations have taken place in recent years, but there's a growing sense that decisions made now could finally lay the groundwork for lasting progress. That sense of looming change becomes even clearer when you look deeper into how the squad is being evaluated internally and externally. The feeling around Rangers is not simply about getting through the current campaign, but about deciding which pieces truly belong in the next version of the team. Danny Rowe has inherited a group shaped by different ideas and short-term fixes, and while recent performances suggest a lift in intensity and belief, the longer-term picture still demands tough calls. It is not about sentiment or reputation anymore, but about who can consistently deliver under pressure and who fits the style the manager wants to impose. Billy Dodds' comments struck a chord with many supporters because they echoed what has been felt for a while. The idea that only 3 or 4 players might be untouchable going into next season underlines how deep the rebuild could be. Goalkeeper Jack Butland was mentioned as someone who has largely been reliable, despite the occasional mistake. And that balance between consistency and fallibility is something Rangers have wrestled with in several positions. In midfield, there is a belief that this area remains the strongest part of the squad, with players like Connor Barron showing development and resilience, traits that tend to stand out in high-pressure matches. The challenge, however, lies further up the pitch and out wide, where output has not always matched expectation. There is a clear demand for more from attacking players, not just in terms of goals, but in decision-making, movement, and the ability to influence matches when space is tight. Dodds hinted that several positions still need upgrading, and that even if a couple of additions arrive sooner rather than later, the real transformation will likely be delayed until the summer. That creates a delicate balancing act for Rowe, who must remain competitive now while planning for a future that could look very different. John Souttar's situation fits neatly into this broader debate. Out of contract in the summer, he represents the kind of decision Rangers need to get right. On his day, he brings composure and physicality, and his return against St. Mirren was a reminder of what he can offer when fit. At the same time, injuries have disrupted his rhythm, and committing to a new deal means weighing reliability against potential risk. Dodd suggested Souttar could be worth keeping, but also made it clear that one centre-half alone will not solve the defensive questions facing the club. The same applies to players like Mohamed Diomande, who has shown flashes of quality but has not always delivered consistently. There is a feeling that his ceiling is high, yet Rangers need players who perform week after week, not just in bursts. These are the margins that define successful rebuilds, and they are often where clubs either move forward or find themselves repeating the same cycle year after year. What makes this period particularly interesting is the parallel work being done off the pitch. The appointment of David French is not just an administrative change, but a signal that Rangers are thinking long-term about their identity and infrastructure. Improving the commercial side of the club is closely linked to what can be done on the field, especially when it comes to funding squad improvements and enhancing the matchday experience for supporters. Ibrox has always been a powerful symbol of the club's history, and discussions around expansion or redevelopment tap into that emotional connection while also addressing modern demands. There's an understanding that success now requires alignment from top to bottom. Recruitment, player development, commercial growth, and stadium planning all feed into one another. For too long, those elements have felt disjointed at Rangers, with progress in one area failing to translate into sustained improvement elsewhere. The hope is that clearer leadership and more coherent planning can change that dynamic. As the season unfolds, pressure will inevitably grow. Big fixtures, especially against Celtic, have a habit of accelerating narratives, for better or worse. A strong result can reinforce belief in the current direction, while a setback can quickly reignite doubts about whether enough has truly changed. For Rowe, every selection and substitution is scrutinized through the lens of both the present campaign and the rebuild to come. Supporters are acutely aware that they have heard promises of overhaul before. Each summer seems to arrive with talk of fresh starts and new eras, only for familiar problems to resurface. That history fuels skepticism, but it also sharpens the demand for decisive action. If Rangers are going to reshape the squad again, it has to be done with clarity and conviction, not half measures. In that context, the coming months feel like a testing ground. January may bring only limited movement, but it will still reveal priorities and intentions. Who gets minutes? Who is trusted in big games? And who fades into the background will all offer clues about what lies ahead. Behind the scenes, negotiations, assessments, and planning continue quietly, building towards a summer that many believe will define the next chapter at Ibrox. There is also a growing sense that leadership within the dressing room will come under closer examination as this process continues. Rangers have spoken often about mentality, about handling expectation, and responding to setbacks, but translating those words into consistent performances has been a challenge. As players return from injury and competition for places increases, Rowe will be watching closely to see who steps forward, who communicates on the pitch, and who can impose themselves when momentum swings. These qualities are not always obvious in training, but they tend to surface in tight matches and hostile environments. The defensive structure in particular remains a work in progress. Even with players returning, there have been moments this season where organization has looked fragile, especially when faced with quick transitions or sustained pressure. Improving that area is not just about individual defenders, but about how the team moves as a unit, how midfielders protect space, and how quickly the shape recovers when possession is lost. Rowe has already hinted at subtle adjustments, and over time, those tweaks will reveal how committed he is to reshaping the team's identity from the back forward in midfield. Competition is beginning to feel healthier, but that also brings difficult decisions. Balancing energy with control and creativity with discipline is never straightforward, especially in a league where physical battles and second balls often decide matches. Rangers need midfielders who can dictate tempo one week and scrap the next depending on the opponent. Finding the right combinations will be key, and the answers may not come immediately. Adding another layer of patience required from everyone involved. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The corridors of Ibrox are abuzz tonight after what can only be described as a bombshell announcement from the Rangers FC hierarchy. Sources close to the club have reportedly confirmed that one of the squad's key figures is set to leave, sending shockwaves through both the dressing room and the fan base. The news, which has yet to be fully detailed, has left players visibly unsettled, with insiders suggesting that the squad is struggling to come to terms with the possibility of losing a player considered central to their on-field identity. Speculation is rife about the circumstances surrounding the departure, with whispers pointing to a mix of personal ambition, lucrative offers from abroad, and possible disagreements. Behind the scenes, the player in question has been a consistent presence for the Light Blues, often carrying the team through difficult fixtures and crucial moments. His influence on and off the pitch has made him not just a fan favorite, but also a locker room leader, meaning his potential exit could signal a significant shift in the club's dynamics. Fans have taken to social media in droves, expressing shock and a mixture of disbelief and concern. For many, the idea of Rangers competing without one of their most trusted performers seems almost unthinkable. Meanwhile, pundits are already weighing up the potential consequences for the squad's balance, with some suggesting that this could trigger a flurry of transfer activity before the window closes. Club officials have remained tight-lipped beyond the initial confirmation, adding fuel to the fire of speculation. Sources insist, however, that talks are ongoing and that no formal agreement has yet been announced. This has left supporters and journalists alike poring over every interview and training session, searching for hints that might clarify the situation. One thing seems certain: whichever direction Rangers choose to take in the coming weeks, the departure of such a pivotal player would mark the end of an era at Ibrox. Whether the club can replace the influence, leadership, and skill that this individual brings remains to be seen. For now, all eyes are on the Light Blues as the football world waits with bated breath for further confirmation of what could be one of the most startling moves of the season. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned